Good day everyone, and welcome to the first ESG Day arranged by Inderes. My name is Karoliina Loikkanen, and I'm heading Inderes ESG Solutions. Today we're gonna hear 4 presentations by 4 companies where they're gonna present their ESG approach. But before that, I will try to explain briefly where we are with the ESG today. And is ESG actually a game changer? Or are we talking about something which is going to be business as usual? So when we talk about ESG, we are of course talking about environment, social and governance related topics. When we take a look at the markets, we can see that environmental and social megatrends are really shaping the markets, and they are really shaping the society as well. And thereby they will have quite remarkable impacts on businesses. Why can I say that? Well, when we take a look at the megatrends, let's go those through one by one. Let's take, for example, climate change and resource scarcity. It's a huge megatrend. We have Paris Agreement signed a few years back, and climate law, which was issued a few years back in European Union. We have related involvement ongoing in US, where Biden just signed Inflation Reduction Act, including also climate-related topics. What does this mean for companies? What does resource scarcity mean for companies? Basically, it of course means increased regulation. What we have seen, actually quite recently, is that there are regulations appearing in various sectors, ranging from emission target setting regulation and discussion about it, to regulations such as packaging directive, which will always have some impact on the business and market environment. So businesses need to more intensively actually monitor what is happening in regulative area, and at the same time they need to understand the physical impacts of these megatrends. What I mean with the physical impacts are phenomena like what we witnessed last summer in Southern Europe. The world is getting hotter, and that will impact our everyday life. So there will be regulative risks, there will be physical risks, and there will be increased pressure for companies to set quite broad climate targets. Climate targets today are not only anymore building some renewable energy systems on top of the roofs. Those actually can include quite broad set of actions which will have operative cost impacts, and also they will have impact on capex. So there are investment needs. If we take a look at the second megatrend, which is actually quite interesting and quite visible when we think about today's discussion, it's a societal change. And I'm not only talking about aging population. That's something that of course need to be accounted, but I'm also referring to the fact that the kind of needs and wishes of people are changing. What does this mean for the companies is that as they need to kind of compete on employees, they need to increasingly understand what do the employees want to do, how to commit right talents, and that is done by engaging the employees even more intensively than what we are doing today. So the companies are sort of in need to develop towards democracies in a way, if you want to be really provocative. What does this mean in practice is that employees might actually want to see that the companies are setting targets on diversity-related topics. Companies are setting targets for general ESG topics. They want to feel that they are doing something meaningful. And if we take certain sectors like IT sector or other sectors where the labor is having a really, really big impact on the company result. Those actions and that change is actually quite remarkable. So monitoring, for example, employee turnover rate is quite important going forward. A little bit related to the previous one is the technological development and data privacy. And I'm not only talking about that, how the data privacy is developing, how it's constructed, how do the companies guarantee that the data privacy is sort of guaranteed for the customer. I'm also talking about the fact that the technology is embedded into everything. So everything we do has some sort of the technology aspect. People are measuring things in their everyday life more and more. And if we take a look at the traditional industries, automation and related technologies are kind of the key to success going forward. But the side impact is that there is increasing amount of discussion of ethics of technology and where are the limitations of technology. Who has the power to store the data, to use the data which has been stored, and for which purposes? Are there some limitations appearing, either due to public discussion or because even due to regulation, that certain technologies cannot be sold on certain areas or to certain groups or organizations? This is an evolving trend which is actually in the future having increasing impact on business opportunities of many companies. We don't have a lot of regulation around it, relatively a lot of regulation around it compared to other aspects of life and other things. But it's something that will appear and it might have quite remarkable impacts going forward. A little bit related to that is the fifth megatrend, which is about geopolitics and shifting economic power. Okay, let's take a look. What does this mean for the companies? We could talk about China, we could talk about the supply chains and geopolitics and challenges related to this aspect. But we also need to understand the ethical aspects. If we take a look about how trade politics is sort of developing currently, especially between US, between China and Europe, we are already seeing signs of kind of development where ESG is embedded into trade politics. That means that environmental or societal aspects are sort of potentially limiting the possibilities to trade between certain regions. And what does this mean for the companies is that they of course need to be awake continuously to understand whether those could actually impact their business, whether those could limit their possibilities to import or export, whether those could kind of mean that they should change their supply chain footprint or sales footprints going forward. So that would require increased agility. Then one point which is not actually a mega trend is ESG scrutiny. The whole ESG is currently quite controversial concept. There is increasing amount of criticism against the whole acronym. And at the same time, like we just went through, there is increasing amount of regulation appearing around the topic. From practical point of view, this is a challenge to companies. In addition to all of these regulative impacts they will face and megatrend impacts they will face, the scrutiny is increasing, meaning that they need to really be compliant with a lot of ESG reporting requirements and also ESG processes, meaning that they need to be able to audit their suppliers, that there are no human rights breaches, and they need to ensure that the figures they give out related to environment, related to people, related to human rights are actually as valid as the financial data. So, if I go back to the original question, are we talking about the game changer, or are we talking about something which is becoming business as usual? I would say that today we could take a look at the game changer called ESG. But going forward, in a few years of time, we are actually talking about business as usual. Thank you very much.